Last night we got invited. Willie tells me.
Country music has always been marketed as the sound of honesty, but the men who shaped its golden era quietly fought a very visible enemy, receding hairlines. While they sang about heartbreak, highways, and honky-tonks, they waged a private war under wide-brimmed hats, toupees, bandanas, and sky-high pompadours. Fans bought the records and filled the arenas without ever suspecting that the legends on stage were battling the same insecurity many ordinary folks see in the mirror each morning. Tonight you'll hear stories of desperate backstage glue jobs, frantic hotel room combovers, and the clever tricks lighting crews pulled to keep a thinning crown in shadow. You'll find out how a cap could make or break a career, how a rhinestone jacket drew eyes away from a forehead, and why a single gust of wind terrified even the toughest outlaw. Every reveal comes with a deeper question. What does it cost a man to protect an image when authenticity is supposed to be his brand? Stay with me as we follow 20 voices, one secret, and a trail of hairspray across 6 decades of country history. Merle Haggard's rough-hewn songs made honesty a virtue, yet his most guarded secret perched right above his eyebrows. Long before the world knew him, a plain railroad cap covered a hairline that receded in lockstep with his time on the road. As his fame grew, the cap became essential wardrobe. Reporters who requested a hatless photo were politely shown the door. Crew members remember Merle tilting stage lights so shadows fell across his forehead, muttering that even a superstar can't write a song about dignity while looking like a weathered horseshoe. The disguise worked, but it set a pattern every balding cowboy after him would copy, starting with the first real legend of them all. Hank Williams Sr. died at 29, yet early photographs reveal thinning wings at his temples that even youth could not hide. The wide-brimmed Stetson he wore on the Opry stage served double duty, branding and barrier. Friends say Hank slept with the hat beside him, terrified it might go missing before a show and expose the fragile state beneath his pomade. When doctors warned him about drinking, he quipped that bourbon at least didn't steal your hair, a joke masking deeper anxiety. Each tortured yodel rose from a head that felt older than his years, and the moment the music stopped, the hat came right back on, inspiring the next generation of outlaw trickery. Johnny Paycheck strutted on stage, snarling, "Take this job and shove it," but off stage, he battled mirrors with equal fury. Sparse strands on his crown pushed him into a constant rotation of trucker caps and low-pulled cowboy hats. A sound engineer once found him dabbing black stage paint across a shiny spot moments before showtime, snarling that nobody buys a ticket to see Scalp. The outlaw persona turned vanity into attitude. The world could judge his rap sheet, but it would never judge that bare spot. His defiance inspired another outlaw who cloaked receding lines in tie-dye and mystery. David Allan Coe draped neon bandanas, paisley scarves, and biker wraps across his head until the fabric became folklore. Outsiders heard tales of spirit quests. Insiders say it began the morning a Houston paper published a photo of sunlight gleaming off his crown. Rather than retreat, Coe doubled down, turning camouflage into costume. During a sweltering Gulf Coast festival, he nearly passed out, but when medics reached for the wrap, he shoved them away, growling that fans paid for enigma, not scalp. That stubborn showmanship set the bar for the next wave of illusionists ready to face dark venues and bright cameras. Waylon Jennings commanded rooms with a baritone drawl, but he commanded lighting rigs with equal precision. By the late 70s, his thick mop had thinned to wisps, so he choreographed dim reds and blues to drape the stage in shadow whenever his hat came off. When directors insisted on brighter TV spots, he'd tilt his brim low, muttering that satellites didn't need to count follicles. An amused Willie Nelson once teased him on camera, flipping the hat from his head. Waylon slapped it back so fast the blooper reel never aired. While he couldn't outlaw genetics, he proved you could still outmaneuver them, lighting the path for the possum himself. George Jones, the possum, kept his secrets under a perfectly coiffed toupee through the chart-topping years. Hairdressers traveled with his tour bus, armed with glue, pins, and emergency spray in case a rowdy encore turned sweaty. Backstage bets formed on whether the piece would survive the final chorus of "He Stopped Loving Her Today." In 1983, a gusty outdoor set nearly ended the charade. A stagehand slapped his head mid-lyric to keep the toupee from sailing into Tennessee night. Jones eventually retired the piece, saying salvation had freed him from vanity, but the memory lingered for Porter Wagoner, who loved rhinestones as much as reassurance. Porter Wagoner dazzled in flashy suits that turned the Grand Ole Opry into a sequined sunrise, and that spectacle served a quieter mission. The high hairline he'd nursed since his Ozark youth sat just behind a towering blonde wave shellacked into place each night. Rumor whispered of partial pieces, but Porter never confirmed, preferring distraction over confession. He once told Dolly Parton that sparkle belongs wherever the eye might wander, and audiences dutifully followed the rhinestones instead of the roots. When a journalist pressed him about thinning a top, Porter just grinned, tapped his glittering lapel, and replied, "Hair? I sing from the heart. The suit sings for the head." Yet even rhinestones lose their shine, and as the crowd's attention shifted, Mel Tillis studied a different tactic. Mel Tillis could make crowds roar with a stuttered joke, yet he spoke softly about the thinning swirl he kept beneath a casual truck stop cap. Between soundcheck and showtime, he'd slip to the bus mirror, fluff the sparse halo, then hide it under fabric with practiced ease. Tillis explained that the stutter taught him timing, and timing taught him that a punchline lands better when the audience isn't distracted by glare. One night, a fan tossed him a new cap with "Keeper of the Hairline" embroidered across the bill. Mel laughed so hard he almost missed the cue, but he kept the gift as a reminder that honesty can wait until after the encore. Ray Price crooned with nightclub polish, smoothing each note like Brill cream over his combed-back style. Photographers adored the sleek silhouette, never realizing it masked a slow retreat at the crown. Ray learned early that stage lights bounce clean off pomade, dazzling lenses and obscuring scalp. When a makeup artist suggested matte powder to cut reflection, he refused, joking that every halo needs a little shine. Price later admitted in an interview that he spent more time on hair angles than chord charts, a confession that surprised no bandmate who'd watched him practice mirror turns like a ballroom dancer. Farron Young, the hillbilly heartthrob, fought baldness with tubs of pomade and an army of fine-tooth combs. Before every television taping, he would soak his hair until it plastered flat, then drag the comb backward, welding the strands into a glossy rampart. Producers complained the style reflected studio lamps like chrome, but Farron insisted the glare kept eyes from drifting higher. In his later years, he surrendered and cropped it short, quipping that he'd rather be remembered for the high notes than the high hairline. Yet those early broadcasts remain YouTube gold, a testament to how far a man will go to keep youth on the dial a few years longer. Don Gibson embraced a different strategy altogether: camouflage by illusion. Don Gibson's voice dripped lonely velvet, but the hair above it played magician, sweeping from left ear to right in a flawless comb-over that could survive Tennessee windstorms. Fans thought the look sophisticated. Barbers knew it meant strategic parting and industrial hairspray. On tour, Don carried a battery-powered travel fan, not for comfort, but for rehearsal. He'd stand before it, testing spray strength until no strand dared lift. Crew joked that if he'd applied the same engineering to the tour bus, breakdowns would vanish. Gibson never apologized, stating that heartbreak needs a smooth surface to echo, and nothing sounds smooth bouncing off sunburned skin. Tom T. Hall watched and decided baseball caps might be easier than meteorological science. Tom T. Hall wrote lyrics that sliced to the bone, yet he shielded his own vulnerability beneath a rotating fleet of truck stop caps embroidered with towns from his tours. He claimed the caps honored local fans, but friends noted how each one sat lower as his hairline marched higher. When he penned "Faster Horses," a journalist teased that faster hats might be the real secret. Hall chuckled and tipped the bill, revealing nothing. In liner note photos, he angled the brim just enough to leave the mystery unsolved, influencing Gene Watson, who took the whisper of a hairpiece to new heights, or depths. Years later, he admitted the caps saved him thousands in stylist bills, proof that frugality can masquerade as fashion. Gene Watson's 4-octave range felt limitless, but his follicles did not share the stamina. Rumors of a subtle hairpiece floated through Nashville, though none were confirmed. Stagehands claimed to see a faint seam under spotlight glare, yet Gene always passed the headshake test, whipping through high notes without a slippage. He quipped that if the audience closed its eyes at the big note, anything above the eyebrows was irrelevant. Watson's coy grin whenever questioned suggested that ambiguity itself was the shield. After all, speculation sells as many tickets as certainty, and a hint of mystery kept the spotlight exactly where he wanted it, on the melody, not the scalp. Still, the quiet uncertainty emboldened Ronnie Milsap to upgrade his own disguise toolkit. Ronnie Milsap's sunglasses became an emblem of soul-drenched country pop, and they shared billing with a carefully chosen hat collection that evolved as his receding line deepened. Because his blindness heightened other senses, he relied on trusted aides to place each hat at the perfect angle before he walked on stage. They would whisper clock face cues, tilt 2 degrees south, ensuring symmetry for television close-ups. When a gust threatened the brim in Las Vegas, Milsap sang an entire chorus one-handed, holding the hat like a steering wheel, never missing a blue note. After the show, Ronnie laughed that even a blind man can see the value of good coverage. Watching from the wings, Billy Joe Shaver realized permanence sometimes required props. Billy Joe Shaver's battered cowboy hat looked stitched from barroom stories and rodeo dust, its brim curled like a grin hiding chipped teeth. Few noticed that beneath the hat lay thinning wisps. Shaver made sure of it. He once said, "God counts bullets and hair, and you never show the enemy your last round." At a Nashville photo shoot, the stylist suggested removing the hat for variety. Shaver replied that variety was for salad bars, not legends. Shaver's unwavering commitment to brim and crown taught younger pickers that mystery could coexist with sincerity, a paradox that country audiences accept as easily as hardwood floors and heartache. Eddie Arnold, ever the gentleman, took notes on that conviction. Eddie Arnold introduced smooth Nashville strings to a world raised on fiddles, and he polished his appearance with equal care. Old kinescopes reveal a subtly higher hairline each season, disguised by perfectly combed waves set with just enough lift to cast a shadow on itself. An insider claimed Arnold practiced smiling angles in his dressing room mirror to ensure television glare wouldn't spotlight the thinning patch. Reporters pressed him about changing styles. He deflected with charm, noting that even a Tennessee plowboy has to rotate crops. Yet Arnold's understated tactic proved that elegance, not excess, could keep a secret safe beneath the lights. Buck Owens preferred a louder Diversion, height, volume, and a red Guild guitar that stole every eye. Buck Owens kept his signature crew high and tight, brushing it upward like a wheat field in the wind, a style some said added inches to any stage. Behind the scenes, he tested volumizing powders before they hit drugstore shelves, determined to create a horizon line that read full-on black and white TV. If an angle revealed scalp, he'd pivot mid-riff to hide it, a dance partners mistook for improvisation. During hee-haw tapings, producers tried to lower harsh studio lights. Buck insisted the glare matched the Bakersfield sound, bright and a little raw. Years later, Buck admitted the elevation in his hair was part barbershop, part bravado, and entirely essential for confidence. Jim Ed Brown opted instead for polished television magic. Jim Ed Brown slipped from radio microphones into national television with a smile as crisp as his tailored suits, and rumor held that his hairpieces were tailored just as carefully. Set designers remember ordering extra cans of spray to lock the wave during live performances, fearful that hot camera lights would loosen the adhesive. Brown greeted every stylist by name, tipping handsomely, aware that loyalty keeps secrets sealed better than glue. One humid night, the monitor showed a slight lift at his forehead. Jim Ed delivered the closing harmony a step back from the edge, where shadows disguised the threat. Charlie Rich watched from backstage, feeling for the first time the weight of his silver mane. Charlie Rich's nickname, the Silver Fox, suggested luxurious thickness, Yet beneath the reflective glow lay patches thinning faster than chart numbers. He cultivated volume, teasing and blow-drying until the airy strands floated like cotton under stage lights. Hairdressers traveled with boxes of matching silver fibers for emergency fill-ins, and Rich occasionally delayed curtain time 10 minutes to let the lacquer set. He admitted privately that the biggest gamble was sweating through a ballad. One drip could carve an accidental part. Critics later argued the shine became part of the storytelling, a distraction turned asset, proving once more that style can bend perception like a steel guitar bends sorrow. Still, the myth held long enough for the man in black to step forward with lessons of his own. Johnny Cash towered in legend and in silhouette, his jet-black pompadour as iconic as the boom-chicka rhythm behind him. As years passed, the hair grew thinner, but clever backlighting created a permanent eclipse around his head, framing him in darkness that masked detail. Cash employed a hairstylist who mastered the art of cross-hatching strands with matte powder, turning a modest tuft into a mountain. During prison concerts, the threat of fans tugging at him lingered, yet none ever reached the crown thanks to ringed security and the gravity of his presence. When asked about vanity, he smiled and quoted scripture on humility, a final smokescreen over the simplest truth: even legends fear the mirror. Beneath the rhinestones, roaring amps, and campfire legends, each of these 20 men fought a battle measured in millimeters and mirror time. Some won for a season with glue or clever lighting. Others surrendered and found new strength in honesty. Yet their secret struggle binds them together more tightly than any duet. It reminds us that confidence is often stitched, sprayed, or stapled into place long before it blooms as art for the crowd. So the next time a classic country chorus raises goosebumps, tip your own hat to the hidden hairspray, the trembling comb, and the fearless decision to face the spotlight anyway. Because even heroes hide beneath the brim, and that's okay. Yet the story does not end when the stage lights dim. The echo of that hidden struggle rolls on through today's arenas, where younger performers fiddle with clip-in extensions, beard fillers, and filter-perfect live-stream angles. They inherited platinum records and platinum-grade anxieties, studying the vintage footage of their heroes for both riffs and disguises. In backstage hallways, you will still find travel dryers whirring beside cases of strings, and a brave rookie discovering that a loose strand can rattle nerves more than a missed note. Veteran road managers tape emergency tissues inside hatbands. Social media handlers hover with ring lights tilted just so, and stylists still carry superglue next to set lists. Fans scrolling through vertical video may never realize how many pixels are arranged to keep a phantom hairline intact, yet every fiddled filter proves the old lesson: presentation is performance. Country may preach truth, but showmanship keeps the tour alive, and somewhere between those poles, a fragile human being tries to sleep. The hats line up on a dusty shelf, each brim a badge of survival waiting for tomorrow's grin, handshake, and encore. So the ritual survives, proof that show business never wastes a trick, especially one that saves fragile pride on stage nightly, every single restless heartbeat. If you enjoyed this video, like and subscribe, and also click the next video shown on your screen.